Summer is coming. Time to turn off the TV and turn on a clever little app called Audible. With Audible, you can listen to the stories you love while doing the things you love. Outside. You know, that place you're supposed to be in the summertime. For just $14.95 a month, you get a credit good for any audiobook. If you don't like it, exchange it anytime. Or roll your credits over to the next month if you don't use them. So get up and get outside with Audible. Start a 30-day trial and your first audiobook is free at audible.com.
Stop jumping on me. Why are you doing that?
Having a bad dog day?
Rex, come back here.
From police dogs to pet dogs, from potty training to pet peeves, #1 best-selling author and 30-year canine trainer Andy Falco knows how to get to the meat of what's eating your dog. This is Falco Canine Dog Talk, the show that helps you and your dog create a relationship of love and respect.
What a good boy. Good heel, Rex. I love you, Rex.
And now here's your host, Andy Falco.
Thank you, Christopher. And don't you love our announcer, Cameron? He's fantastic, isn't he?
Fantastic, that Christopher.
I love the actors in that thing. Hey, this is Andy Falco Jimenez with
Cameron Thompson. I didn't know we were doing that.
My favorite part is the delay between doing that. Welcome to another episode of the Train the Dog Trainer podcast. And we are finishing up our discussion on evaluations. And we're going to get into the meat of an evaluation. And this is kind of, for me, taken a little bit of a turn to really kind of even a deeper aspect of who you are. Are you being authentic with your potential client? What is your goal in life as far as being a trainer? What do you truly want to do? And I think you really need to evaluate yourself as to what is your goal really? Is it to make money, or is it to actually save lives in regard to probably both the dog and the human being in some aspect, and saving a relationship? What do you think, Cameron? How do you want to take this talk about evaluations? Am I hitting the right chord there?
Yeah, definitely. I think we have, oftentimes gotten into a rhythm in our businesses, and our confidence level starts to grow, and we don't realize just how much that brings an authenticity to our communication at a certain point as we go along that really is essential, I think, to creating deep connections with our clients, to helping them really achieve the highest level of success. And we definitely want to talk about the evaluation as an opportunity, your first opportunity, in fact, potentially, to show up exactly who you are and to, convey to your client the truth of what you see, being as honest as you're going to need to be throughout the training relationship in the context of that evaluation, I think is really, really a principal element of what the evaluation represents. And this might be a great conversation, in which we are inviting our audience to really do some self-reflection, to really take stock of, is this something they're conscious of, or are they showing up thinking more in terms of a scarcity mindset? I need to make the sale. I need to close the sale. I got to hit my numbers. Or, I really want to work with this dog. I really want this challenge, this opportunity. But if you're going in with that approach and that motivation, and you're not, able to recognize that the things that you share with these people may beat around the bush too much, they may be, hesitant and guarded, or you may be more reserved in the things that you are observant of about their lifestyle, their relationship, how they created or contributed to the problems they're currently having. If you don't, articulate those things right up front, you're kind of, I use the term bait and switch. You kind of bait and switch, in this relationship as you go along, right? Where you want a month later, you want them to let you speak into their life and tell them exactly what they need to do and what all the problems are, and to follow your homework. But if that's not the person they met in the evaluation, you have potential to run into some big issues down the line. So this is the piece I think that we can jump into today and kind of talk about. And maybe you have some examples or, ideas of where you've seen that happen to, trainers as they're growing in their business, where they're coming and asking for help and support. I can't get my client to comply. And, I don't know if you see this happen like I have, where it's, well, have you really told them the truth of what they need to do? And did you do that from the beginning? Maybe not.
Yeah, well, you caused me to kind of think away from the dog training world and think about when we're getting in a relationship with people, right? In the very first couple of dates, you are not really seeing each other as you truly are, probably in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
You're putting on a little bit of a show. You are trying to show your best side. You're trying not to burp. You're trying not to pick your nose.
Yep.
A whole bunch of things, and that's not really the authentic you. And that's why it's so strange that some people get married so early, in the relationship. And so we don't want to do that in this world either. When we're bringing somebody in, we do want to put on our best side. I always tell people, do you make sure your car is washed when you're going to somebody's home, because they're going to see your car and how clean it is. I mean, you want to put on your best side, but you don't want to be inauthentic in how you're going to talk to them about what it is that their true problems are, and not be honest with them when there needs to be some brutal honesty. At some point, there are times where I have told people that in the end, this probably is not a relationship that's going to work between you and this dog. And so there has to be that. Also, in that it's going to take more work than probably what they thought, right? Some people quite often people want a quick fix. I want my dog to stop doing this today. Well, no, it's going to take a complete change of habit, a change of mindset in relationship to this dog, and that type of stuff. So this facade that maybe you put on in the very beginning needs to come down fairly quickly.
Yeah, I mean, imagine going into a physician, for a chronic health issue you're having, and the doctor wants to be friendly with you and wants you to leave smiling. So they tell you, you're going to be great, that you don't worry about it. All you got to just take this supplement. You're going to be great. And deep down, he knows or she knows you're fucked. You need to do a serious detox. You need to change your whole lifestyle. And, that if you do, you have a tremendous potential to, blow the roof off of your vitality, right? And your ability to thrive throughout the course of your remaining life. But that doctor is not doing you they're doing you a disservice if they try to make it fun and comfortable and easy, and they're friendly with you, and their desire is to have it be that you like them and you want to come back to them, so they don't want to tell you the truth of what they see. They're not helping you. They're not fulfilling their responsibility. And so, you as a trainer, you have an obligation, you have a responsibility to show up and trust your gifts, trust the insight that you have. These people are struggling. They're looking for support, and you have the answers to share with them about how they got where they are and what they need to do to get where they want to go. And no delaying of that truth telling is of benefit to them. There's ways that we can finesse this so we don't give them everything for free up front. But there's, and so that we don't come off as, abrasive or uncaring or judgmental or anything like that. That's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about understanding such a deep level of confidence and assuredness in yourself that your job is to hold them in their highest potential and to give them, insight into the truth of what's been going on, to help them unpack it and get through it to the other side. When you come from that place, you don't run into people who are being, aggressive, and that are, where it's a struggle to receive the information. You find that you feel cared about, you feel advocated for. And that's what I really believe dog trainers should have in their in their mission and in their mindset around what they utilize this evaluation, this touch point, to be representative of. Can I tell this person, hey, maybe at work, you struggle with boundaries too, and you're kind of passive and allowing people to overlook you or treat you poorly, and there's frustration there, and it's not really dissimilar to what's going on in the dynamic at home with the dog, because as I'm always saying, how we do one thing is how we do everything, and here if we fix this thing with a dog, we can help you now start to feel more assertive and confident and clear about the value of fixing it in your work life. And now you can not dread going to work. You can get excited about being a part of something, a team that respects you, that honors your boundaries, et cetera, et cetera. So these are really, really important opportunities that we have in our industry, in our work. If we really care about the work and we really care about making a difference, which is what, of course, we're standing for in the context of this show, and believe in really develops a thriving business, then there are elements of this truth telling and this authenticity that needs to be a part of every interaction you share with your clients. It otherwise just comes back around and bites you in the butt later.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's first discuss if you're a trainer that's listening to this and you're just now getting into the business of dog training, and you're starting to evaluate, some customers that are looking for answers to their problems, that kind of stuff. I think the first thing that a trainer needs to know right off the bat is what their limitations are as to whether they can help somebody, and being honest with yourself.
Yeah, this totally jives.
and trying not to get into something that's surely not going to go well. And I would, advise that, number one, know your limitations, know what it is that your abilities are. Are you going to take on aggressive dogs? Do you have that ability? If you don't, do not take it on, because what you're talking about a doctor too, is that if a doctor says, oh yeah, I can fix that, well knowing that he can't.
Right.
And he tries to do it anyway, right? That would be, malpractice.
It's unethical. Yeah.
And so you're kind of in malpractice in regard to a dog trainer if you're trying to take on something that you're not really ready for. This is a great opportunity to connect with a trainer who does have more experience, and then referring that business to them, and then being with them while they're trying to fix that dog. And now you have that opportunity to learn while they're, taking on one of your customers, and both of you benefit from that type of thing. That
great point. Totally great point. Yeah.
And so it usually has to do with aggression, I think. And sometimes it has to do with big dogs versus small dogs and that kind of stuff. So
anxiety, things like that. Yeah.
And in some of my earlier podcasts before you came along, before they got really good with you.
In the year BC.
Yeah. Hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty awesome. Now you made me forget what I was going to say. It's so fantastic.
For me.
But I talked about writing down who you are, who it is you want to serve, who is your perfect customer, what kind of dogs you want to work with, and really staying true to that and try to be very narrow in the beginning. That's so important to your happiness, to your, your growth, is that you really do not get over your head in one aspect based on who it is you've decided to serve, who you can serve and do it well. And stick with that, and don't go forward unless you're ready to go forward. As you get better, you can then begin to broaden that scope to add the more difficult dogs as you get more experience and that kind of stuff. What advice do you have for people that are new to this business and just getting started?
I think you're hitting it on the head. I mean, there is an opportunity in some cases to tell people, and I think rescues fall into this category a lot. There is an opportunity for you to cut your teeth, so to speak, and be totally upfront and honest with a potential client or a rescue organization, for example, that you've got some wiggle room in terms of the results you create for them. They may be not paying you, for example, and you're wanting the opportunity to get some practice and see how far you can take a dog. These situations are different in a certain, to a certain extent, as far as opportunities where you may be over your head, but you're having the chance to learn, and you can consult, like Andy's recommending, with colleagues, professionals that are mentors for you, that can give you insight into how you're doing, what you might need to pay attention to as you go along, and so on and so forth, because there's no replacement for experience. You've got to do it in order to get great at it, but you just want to be absolutely 100% transparent from the very beginning. Hey, I've never dealt with this issue before, but I'm not afraid to try. Or I have resources. I can take this dog to a seminar. I want to go to a seminar and get some, education and have some insight from somebody who is more advanced in this area than I am. I'll bring the dog with me. I mean, there could be ways in which you are actively hands-on and participatory in the development process for you to become someone who can take those cases. But never, ever, ever make a promise you cannot keep. Never, ever, ever, standing there in an evaluation and saying it's a yes to everything, and the dog will be absolutely fixed and perfect by the time I see you in a few weeks' time, or at the end of our 8-week program, or whatever. It just is absolutely not something you can deliver on with 100% certainty, and you have to know that you're working with animals here, and the humans in the element are a factor for that success and that outcome as well. So I totally agree with what you're saying. And I think this is an excellent point it comes along with being honest and transparent and really speaking the truth of who you are, what you do. That topic of defining your ideal client and really defining your mission and your vision. These are all elements of what I break down in my private coaching programs that I think will be fantastic separate conversations for us to share some of our insights around on this platform, because they are often missed pillars of business foundation that, when you've done that work to define who's your ideal client, what kind of dogs do you really excel and enjoy working with, it becomes so much easier to recognize when a potential client is not in alignment with that. It becomes so much easier to establish those all important boundaries in different aspects of your work when you have done that, done your due diligence and defined what it is that you're up against here and after in your business. So,
right.
Yes.
And this speaks to something I've been very fortunate, and I don't know how I came about this, but I chose not to. I try my best not to burn bridges with other trainers. Now, there's a lot of trainers that don't particularly care for me. One of those reasons is because I'm a little too honest about things and share a lot of information. But I, on the other side, really try to always be friendly. I'm friends with a lot of my enemies. And just still smile and hug them or shake their hands and tell them hi and that kind of stuff. Go out of my way. But for trainers that have worked for me as employees and then went on to start their own businesses, sometimes it doesn't end well. Sometimes it ends, very well. But as they go on, and the good news is, even the ones that maybe didn't leave on the best note, I still get referrals from them. Because I've told them, and I've taught all of them, that do not get over your head. If you get over your head, your life is going to be miserable. It's going to be very difficult to get out of that, and it's going to bite you in the butt way down the road, and it'll be hard to shake from a period of time. So maintaining those relationships, always being there for other people, and then helping people, stand back up when they fall and that kind of stuff. In this business is unusual. And it'll serve you well in the long run. Because again, like I said, I get referrals from people I swore I would never expect to get a referral from. Mm-hmm. But they realized, based on being around me and what I could do, that they had a dog that, even though they had already started training, about a week in, realized, oh, wait a minute, this is different than what I can handle. And sure enough, I get the call, hey, I got referred by blah, blah, blah. And I go, who? What?
No way.
All right.
That's something.
Well, that's very cool. So I'm sorry, what our discussion just reminded me, there's having those relationships and always being the person that, kind of just takes the upper, what's the word? The upper road?
High road.
High road, yeah, the upper road. I take the upper road, you take the high road, whatever. And
they go low, we go high.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're bringing in actually a really essential piece of finishing this evaluation conversation, and, building your community, knowing your limits, and being responsible to take care of that prospect on whatever level you can, including and not limited to referring them out appropriately. Really, really important. Referring them out or just simply telling them no. But I think we're advocating that you be able to refer them out and you give them a next step suggestion, because that's really a higher level of customer service. It's a higher level of business consciousness when you don't just drop it at, it's not going to be for us. We don't want your business. We can't help you. The buck stops here, basically. It is a much more professional and, ethical practice when you can say, you know what, that's really outside the scope of what we specialize in and what we're comfortable handling. But I do have a suggestion of somebody that I would connect you with to give that person an action step to take so they don't feel dropped, they don't feel ignored. That actually goes a really long way towards building your business. This person may never pay you a dime, but if they leave feeling that you have that level of care for them, that you went the extra mile, not paid, can actually even result in positive reviews. You can end up getting a lot of, tremendous value that's really, not quantifiable from a financial standpoint. They're talking about you regardless of whether they hired you. And I mean, this is something we have to think about. We all do it, right? If we go to a restaurant and we have a crappy experience in the first few minutes and we walk out, what are we saying about that restaurant forevermore? We're telling everyone we know that brings it up, oh no, I wouldn't go there, I had a really bad experience.
Right.
So in an evaluation, it is your first opportunity to determine whether this is a right fit. It's your first opportunity to come forward authentically in the way that you're going to want to work with and coach and be in relationship and dynamic with these people. So don't hold back. Be who you are. Tell them the truth of what you can do. Know your limits, right? And, be prepared to give them a solution of what to do instead if you can't follow through, and give them a strong invitation and enrollment invitation to what you have to offer and resolve their problems. I think these are great elements of what to be focused on in the context of whether it's on the phone or in person. Find a way to send that person on to something they can tangibly do, someone else they can connect with, so they don't feel like you just didn't care.
Yep. So just, it's going to be impossible to, in this broadcast, and it would be impossible over several broadcasts to take you, the listener, through all the things that maybe Cameron and I both look for when we're doing an evaluation and we're looking at. But let's at least give them a couple of things that we look at as we're doing the evaluation. For me, one of the things I look at is the first moments that the human and dog either enter my space, get out of their car, and or they're still struggling. They're struggling to get the leash on the dog. I mean, my evaluation starts at the moment they enter my vision and my space, and I begin to watch the dynamics between the two. And so I'm really looking for how the dog's reacting, how the human's reacting, how they're actually putting the leash on the dog. Are they rough with the dog? Are they easy with the dog? What's the dog's response to those things? And again, we can go on forever and talk about all the physical signs of hatred a dog has for its human, or just the disconnect between the human and the dog. But I can tell you, the people will change once they see that you're watching them, and you see them switch. And again, those are all really important signs for me. And some of those things are tail position. If it's a certain type of dog, husky, you may have the tail always up. So this is maybe different depending on the breed. But you want to watch that tail. You want to watch the eyes. If the dog is showing a lot of whites of their eyes, they're darting around, looking around. Is the dog looking really scared? Does the dog look really comfortable? Does the dog look happy being around that human being? What's the dog's fur doing? What's the dog's ears doing? Again, based on what type of breed of dog that they have. When they finally get the leash on and start walking towards you, what's the dog's gait? Is the dog, trying to escape, from the handler and just like, get me away from this human being because I need another human in my life? Or is it between the human's legs and that kind of stuff? All of those things really early on, if you're not watching that early moment and signs of when they're coming to see you, I think you're missing, for me, for what I do, missing a huge part of that evaluation and that relationship between the dog and the handler. What do you have for with those first moments of an evaluation when you're seeing somebody together?
I completely agree. I can totally validate that's, absolutely true in my process as well. And the same rules apply for the human being. Does the human have control of the kids they brought? Do they, are they already fighting with their spouse because just finding the directions of where they were supposed to go tipped them into, a chaotic dynamic in the car? You learn so much by being quiet and observant and just letting the scene play out. It's remarkable what insights you can gain about someone's stress level, their plate being super full, what they prioritized in terms of getting to you, right? We get dogs, they'll show up to an evaluation and it's almost like when you see a really exhausted mom in a grocery store with a kid that's like half clothed. There's no shoes on the child, the baby has like the wrong sibling's outfit. I mean, you're like, sister, I get it. You didn't sleep last night at all. There are elements of evaluation when it comes to dog training where that client or family will pile out of the car and it's just the story is written all over, right? The dog doesn't have a collar on. They couldn't find the regular leash. So you now are getting the idea that maybe we haven't walked the dog in a week or 3 or 10. I get all of these kinds of things, where they just sort of tumble out of the car like it's been, a hoarder living in there
Right.
for the last 9 months. And you have a much more clear idea of what you're up against when you look at that.
You just put pictures of my head. You just put pictures of my head of seeing this, the husband wives that come and they're staring at each other over the top of the roof of the car as they're getting the dog.
Yeah. Didn't you bring the leash?
Yeah, they're so far away. I can't hear them, but I see them.
Yes.
Why, why is this is your fault that we're even here. I didn't want to come here anyway.
Yeah. He puked in the back.
I could have done this,
Yes.
And then they go, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And they have their hands, around
So
each
good to meet you. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these are all things that, I think this is probably true for you, but for me, I plug that in my little brain Rolodex, whatever file of facts, and I later pull it out in the enrollment stage, in the prescribing stage, and I will begin to share stories, anecdotes, break the ice and bring a joke or two in there that references what I have perceived to be their reality. And that is a awesome connecting point, where they're like, the walls come down and they don't have to feel like utter failures in that moment, because they're already frustrated and stressed out. They already, think that their situation may be helpless in so many cases and things like that, or they're really, fearful that they're in for a lot of money and, can this actually be resolved? And so it's really, really powerful when you can say, you know what, I get it. This stuff is tricky. It's tough. It's exhausting. You probably have, barely any time to connect and see each other, let alone, deal with the dog training. And these are elements that I'll bring into the conversation to really lay out for them what is reasonable and realistic to expect in terms of results, what program is the best fit on account of what I can already see are, clear and significant struggles in their day-to-day life or relationship. And it tells me a lot about the work I'm going to be doing with the dog. Yep. If we've got a dog, as you were indicating, who has major issues with one handler versus the other, we really know that regardless of what we pattern, condition, and develop in the dog in, say, an intensive emergent program, returning them to those people and having to create that balance somehow is going to be a whole other thing. So, definitely am with you in terms of watching all of those little details the minute that car pulls up and how they interact with each other and what their dynamic is. What else is on their plate has a huge influence on why the dog is struggling or behaving the way that it is and what is reasonable for them to expect to create later.
And I just want to make sure and clarify, because I'm sure that there's at least one or two trainers that maybe listen to this that think that dog training has to do with teaching a dog to sit down, stay, come, and heel, and not counter surf. If you're getting the idea that Cameron and I believe that there's a bigger problem in most cases in regard to the relationship between the human and the dog, you're right. Sit down, stay, come when you call, and heel is child's play, and it is all possible. But we're talking about how do you get the dog to sit down, stay, and heel in a way that is going to make the relationship better? What is it why is the dog really not doing that stuff?
Yeah, and why do we have to care about it?
Yeah,
because the dog doesn't. That's
why
not
is the dog not coming back to them? Right?
Yeah.
In most cases, people will say, "Well, it's that breed; they just run." Well, I've had some of the most difficult breeds, like a husky. I like to visit huskies because huskies can be a little bit difficult.
I love huskies.
But I've had huskies stop and turn and come back to a handler because they have a good relationship.
Yeah.
The relationship is what stops that dog and turns that dog around and brings him back to you. It's not the shock necessarily. It's not the pinch collar. It's not any of those things. It's the relationship. Those tools that I just mentioned are maybe a way that we help the dog understand, or we use them to help create the behavior in some cases. Whether or not you're using those or not, it's not going to stay strong. It's not going to be reliable unless you first fix the relationship, because that's really the most important thing, is the relationship. Did I say relationship enough?
You said relationship a lot of times, and it's perfect, because the reality of the relationship is you're going to apply those tools incorrectly at some point, if not many times. And this was such a beautiful metaphor. I don't know if you even realized how you just articulated that, but when we hurt somebody, what brings them back is not further hurting them, threatening them, forcing them, demanding of them. It's the relationship that brings them back. It's their previous experience of having faith and belief in our love, respect, the trustability of us, advocacy for them, that we show up and do what we say we're going to do, that our intentions are good. That's what has somebody coming back to you when you have screwed up. And so it's no different with our dogs. The difference is the language barrier. The difference is that tools help bridge the gap where we're not naturally inclined to speak the way they do and to command respect on the level that is so natural to them, to share our opinions with them, which garner that reverence and respect within the sort of pack mentality. Having a dog that has a stronger opinion is, one of those things I talked with Kevin Behan about very recently. It was like, that's the pack leader, is the dog who just has a stronger opinion. It's why a lot of us who are out in front running our businesses and being, out loud in our lives, we just have really strong opinions. That's all there is to it. There's nothing else different, or better than us. It's just, we just have really strong opinions. So I think that was so cool the way you articulated that. And my wheels are turning as far as sharing that to a broader audience, because, it doesn't matter. You may apply that tool and really screw that up. But if at the core, the intentions are good, the relationship is something that you're focused on more than anything else, and you show up again and again and prove that to your dog, you're going to be forgiven. It's not going to interrupt your dog's ability to turn back and come into you and go, I can still hang with her. She's not so bad. I may be a little confused about why I just got yelled at, or I didn't get clicked and treated, or I got a little e-collar pressure right now. But I have an overall sense of safety and stability and security in this dynamic. So that was really juicy, my friend. Well done.
Right. Thank you. That's a really big compliment. I love that. And so just to give them one more step that I do during evaluation, and I'm not sure if you do this or not, but this takes me back to being a police officer and both on the street and as a family crimes detective. And that is, I take the dog away from the human beings to a place where they can't be seen or hopefully heard. That's kind of hard because the dog's hearing is actually pretty decent. But I try to take the dog away. I often, when I have my office, I keep the humans in my office and I take the dog outside and take them around in the back away from them. Because I want to see how the dog reacts and responds and their true personality away from the human being. The reason I brought up the law enforcement thing is because I dealt with a lot of domestic violence, and wives in a abusive relationship will act all happy and smiley when they're with their husbands and say nothing's wrong, everything's okay. But the moment you get away from them, the human or the husband that is that they begin to sob and cry and say, "Please help me and save me." And you can almost kind of see that with some dogs in some way, like, oh, thank God I'm with a leader finally. Because I will actually not only take the dog away from them, but I will actually have the dog respond to some really quick little little training things that I do to get the dog to sit and that kind of stuff. And this dog that they brought to me that has no response to anything, right? They bring the dog. This dog is so stupid. He doesn't listen to me. He never, I've tried to train him to sit. I've taken him to PetSmart. I've taken him to Petco. I've taken him all these places, and he still doesn't do what I want. And then I bring the dog back. And for me, the dog is sitting, the dog will stay, the dog will heel.
Whatever you want, boss.
And again, so it's for me, taking that dog away, I can see how the dog really is trainable, which is probably in most cases true, and how the dog's personality is very different. Do you have anything you do in relationship to testing a dog's true personality away from the human beings?
Yeah, I really love that you brought that up, because it's definitely an enormous piece of the puzzle. What's cool is actually if you can get the dog away from the owner, out of hearing, and the dog doesn't see them, but the owner maybe is watching, you have opportunities for the owner to see very tangibly that you can, like, for example, do an intro with another dog or expose them to another dog based on the way our setup is. We can have another handler come by with a dog, and the owner may have told us, that their dog is extremely reactive, right? And we switch handlers. We just met. We haven't done any training. We switch handlers and we have no reactivity. And your owner is seeing this from a distance away, and you're able then to go back and like a magician, but it's not, right? And you're saying, look, they don't believe you. They don't respect you. They're taking matters into their own hand because they believe they can or they must. You change that relationship, and the perception is different. You see that the dog is actually nervous, insecure, unsure, right? Whatever, misguided. So we absolutely do the same thing, and really like to see that dog away from the influence of the relationship that they're coming in with. And then I also do really like to see them in response to some sort of stimulus like that, a dog passing, evaluating the level of behavioral issue. And this goes to the fact that a lot of evaluations that I'm participatory in are rescue related. These are folks that are coming to us thinking they want and need to surrender their dog and rehome their dog. And what I'm always endeavoring to do is educate them first and foremost, present solutions for them to actually resolve the issues and keep the dog in their home. And then we might start talking about alternatives if it's appropriate to do so. I never approach an evaluation, whether it is a paid potential client or a rescue scenario, assuming that this is the only option. The dog needs to come in. I actually approach it with, the dog needs to stay put if possible. And what can I do to help make that a reality for them, and for them to get the benefit of taking responsibility, doing the work, really learning to resolve these issues. And then, the dog getting the benefit of that evolution as well, not having to upend them. So yes, get them away from the stimulus, expose them to something maybe even, corrective on some level, something that may put some pressure or stress on the dog to see how they respond in a controlled and safe way, of course, to the level of ability and comfort that you have in handling. Because these are things that are really important that you don't want to discover somewhere in the middle of a board and train, for example, which is a very popular service offering nowadays. A dog that you didn't properly assess that comes into board and train and shows you they're really kind of a killer is really a drag to find out on your own at 12 o'clock at night when you can't get it back straight. So these are things to check out, and get a firsthand account of it. You don't have to handle the dog even. You can let the owner handle the dog. Check the equipment is safe. It's on properly. It's backed up securely. Never do something like this without having those assessments done first. I always put a slip lead on these dogs and have the owner with a slip lead as well. They may be on other tools, but we want that backed up, toggled, tightened down slip lead. We don't want any chance we have a dog that's going to react and make contact with another test subject. But we do want to know, what is the reality? If someone's telling you over the phone they've been to 3 other trainers and nobody's been able to help them, believe them at first, give it the benefit of the doubt and see what's up, right? It may be a cinch for you to fix it, which is often the case for us, but there are exceptions to every rule. Absolutely.
Right. Now, I don't want to give anybody the impression that what you're hearing all in this podcast is going to be everything you need to know about doing an evaluation. We have given about $2,000 worth of training advice away on this podcast. However, there are some dynamics that I want to make sure that you understand that you still have to, get some experience, get some skills, and that kind of stuff to really do a full evaluation. But I think that the things you just talked about were gold. So if I were listening to this
I think
podcast,
we can say $3,000. It's probably at least $3,000
yeah,
worth.
okay.
I
would write down some notes. I would write down some
yeah.
notes from this podcast.
Yeah, seriously.
And so just to end this particular episode, and I know what I'm going into now, it could actually be an episode all by itself, but now it comes time that you're going to be telling the human attached to this dog, what the plan is and what should be expected, and or whether or not maybe they've made the wrong choice for this dog. Now, again, like you just said, my goal is always keep the dog in the house, figure out how we can make this work. I am brutally frank with them that they need to change their ways. This is the important part, to be honest, to be completely and full out honest about what's realistic. In some cases, you're going to have to tell people they're going to need to change their lives in some way. Not move probably or do something else, but there's going to be some significant changes that need to happen in order for to make this work. It could be, you need to start doing some crate training. You need to possibly get a kennel, or you need to do something because the people in your life need to be kept safe. And so this kind of thing may need to, this type of this type of training may need to happen in order for you to even begin to have some positive results. Because if the dog keeps getting loose and biting people or chasing children down the road, how are you going to get a place of, some success? You have to set yourself up for success. And sometimes it's changing the living environment of the dog, and what that looks like could be a number of different things. Like I said, crates, kennels, and that kind of stuff. So I kind of want you to go through your whole broadcast that you just did earlier before we started ours, where you were just talking, you were on a roll, especially when you told people to get their, to understand that they're effing their dog's S up.
I know I have to switch gears to my family friendly language.
But yes, I mean, I just want you to talk about how important it is for this part of the evaluation of just telling people. I mean, you're trying not to be mean. Again, you're not trying to necessarily chase people away. Mm-hmm. Maybe on some level you are, right? On some level you're saying, hey, if you're not willing to
respond on some level, you absolutely are. And
all right, go ahead.
If you're confident enough in yourself, you won't be worried about that. You won't be coming from a place of scarcity and insecurity that right. If I don't close this, there's something wrong with me, or I'm going to go bankrupt if I don't have every sale. What that does, in fact, is it only leads you into other elements of business suffering and failure that I'm sure we will evolve to talk about in a very intentional way in some of this content, because both of us are of the mindset that we have a lot of ability to help people avoid making certain mistakes in their dog-based business companies going forward if they had the tools that we now know, right? But, around the conversation and the prescribing that you're responsible to do in the face of an assessment with somebody who may become a client with you, I think it's absolutely pivotal that you take this opportunity to be as honest as you will need to be throughout your training relationship together. Take the opportunity to be as authentically you, to use your intuition, to use the insight and the honesty, the awareness of your own struggles and experiences. Bring that into the conversation. Tell them you have been where they've been. If you've been where they've been, tell them you know how terrible it was, but tell them the truth of what it took to get you to the other side, right? Don't sugarcoat it and have them believing that if with just a little change of tools and a little magic fairy dust, in 17 days and 3 hours, you're going to have a totally different Fido. It's like, that is a bunch of BS, and you will not be able to deliver on that, 10 out of 10 times. And you're going to only upset people and leave a bad taste in their mouth for what it means to get involved and invest with a dog trainer. Instead, I would be really, empowered that you're being given an opportunity to hold a vision for this prospective client for something better than what they can see for themselves. Mm. That's your job, in my opinion, is to say, I know you're struggling. I know you're frustrated. I know you're hurt. I know you feel like you might have the worst dog in the world, or that this is absolutely not possible because your wife isn't on board, or your husband isn't around and helpful, or your kids are your kids. I know you might feel that way, but the reality is this is just about a lack of tools and resources. And my job and ability in this situation is that I can come in and give you those tools. I can come in and show you the truth of where you've got some things out of balance. The recipe is off. And if you're ready and willing to make the changes you need to make and to dig in and do the work, I can have your back in helping you get that done and creating a totally different dynamic with your dog on the other side of this journey. It is a journey. It is not an overnight fix. There's no shortcuts in life, period. And, give them an example that is relatable, that connects you to the experience of having had to dig deep and have respect for not taking a shortcut in order to achieve something important in your life. It's really powerful, and the opportunity is that they can learn to apply this better process in relationship to something they truly love. People love their animals. They're very often the catalyst for tremendous growth, healing, change, empowerment, etc. And you can potentially show them how to apply this better process in relationship to their dog, and then demonstrate that this now works everywhere else in your life. This now works as your, parenting, relevant parenting resource, and as a relevant coworker, communication strategy, and as a relevant marriage strengthening approach, right? There really are a lot of cross-promoting principles in dog training And so I would have these kinds of conversations, and I do every single time I have someone in front of me for an evaluation. This is the way I talk to them.
Yep.
I will talk to them about, when they ask me, where's my dog going to sleep? Are they going to, how often are they going to get out to play? And I'll say, you know what? I'm not here to be your dog's friend. I'm here to help your dog get better where they're out of balance. They're totally disconnected. I'm here to teach your dog. I'm here to help your dog learn to earn things. You're not going to see content from me all day, every day, playing with your dog until your dog has earned. You will not see, your dog free roaming and doing whatever it wants to do. These are the kinds of things I believe you should be saying right now. Don't put it off, don't. I had somebody the other day, so when she's here, she says to me, when my dog is here, so we call you and you go, no, you don't. I said, no, you don't. You don't call me. I call you if there's a problem. If your dog is bleeding, I will call you. You don't call me. I mean, straight up, people do not sugarcoat it, or you are only teaching them that you do not have a backbone and it's acceptable to push on you, that it's acceptable to negotiate these boundaries. And in turn, bigger picture, that it's acceptable or healthy and okay to stay in anxiety, helicopter momming, that kind of mentality that created the behavior issue in the first place.
Right.
These are the kinds of conversations that I have in an evaluation. Look, this is that exact mentality that has resulted in an entitled, bratty, disrespectful, dangerous dog, because you're more concerned about the emotional experience of what they're feeling than about developing a healthy relationship and setting boundaries and preparing that dog for adulthood. Same way you would need to do that with a child, right? These are the things that I believe we need to be saying in an assessment as we establish a relationship with somebody, so we don't bait and switch and suddenly start to try to tell them this truth later on after the investment's been made and they're not understanding that this is what was going to be required. You see, very, very important. And it comes from a place of developing confidence in yourself. It comes from a place of trusting your story and believing that you have a responsibility to show up and bring that level of honesty and insight to your client prospects. And it gets easier as you do it, I promise.
Yes.
But you'd much prefer to have somebody go, damn, she is like too much for me. No, thank you. I want Fifi to go to one of those free roam places. And, I don't care if she has to be on leash forever and always. Like, fine, knock yourself out, guys. It's totally your prerogative. I don't want to waste
Why
my
is
time.
the dog's name attached to those kind of people always Fifi?
I don't know. This one wasn't Fifi, but right? We do that. We're like, Bella. Bella.
Wow.
Fluffy.
You just stole my thunder, because the one thing I was saying, if you do this right, this dog training thing right, if you do this dog training thing right, you're going to change people's lives.
Yes.
It's not just in their dog. You're going
You
to change their
should be.
life in their relationship with their
Yeah.
husbands, wives, children, employees, bosses.
Yep.
Because they'll realize, wow, I didn't realize I was such a dick. Or
I'm out of control.
Yes.
Yeah. They don't realize they're out of control. They don't realize they're choosing overwhelm. They are making the life they have that is a plate over full. They are doing this to themselves. The consequences that are happening are for them. They are meant for them to learn from. This very recent one that I've referenced a couple times, because it's pretty rare that anybody gets to me that isn't a right fit. Like I said earlier at the top of the broadcast, this is a really good example of where I needed to be the knowledge bomb dropper and the truth teller in this scenario, but my team really has learned to do it very, very well. And I'm glad I got to have this connection, because they just had sort of a perception, a celebrity perception a little bit of me. And that's okay. That happens. But what they got face to face was, I told them very clearly, I want a relationship with you for the rest of your life. I don't want a relationship with you to fix this problem now and never hear from you again. These are things that I think are really important for dog trainers to recognize. They have the power to stand for in their business. And what that does with 99.9% of the people that I confront that become clients is, they're my people now, right? And I get to back them and watch them grow and thrive. And they become such an unbelievable part of my family and support system. It's gorgeous. But if you don't have that truth telling kind of relationship, if you don't have that authenticity from the beginning, you can miss out on that. And it's really unfortunate. There is a tremendous potential to change lives, to heal, to empower, to inspire, to, reconnect, to, God, it's amazing what we get to do if we care enough to help people get where they want to go, and be uncomfortable when we get comfortable with being uncomfortable. But, a lot of times you can't figure that out unless you really put everything on the table, right? And that is a case I definitely had to experience recently, where I just said, you caused this. The behavior, the way you live, the way you act, how you look at her, how you've done, the things you haven't done, they created this. You don't have to have the same priorities as I do for my dogs. But if you want me to show you how to change this thing and get it onto a different path, it's a holistic approach. It's a holistic scenario. It is not a tool. It is not a one size fits all, one time we do this and you learn that and that's the end of it. And if you're not ready for that, that's okay. But you have to be ready for that and ready for me if you want to work with me. You have to.
Wow.
You have to.
Yes. Well, what I learned long ago is the poor relationship between a human and their dog is just a symptom of something bigger.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
So,
amen.
Wow. I don't
know a really cool mentor who says, show me your dog and I'll show you the state of your business.
Wow.
And I love that. I think that.
There are some nuggets in this one.
I make sure to keep my dogs in order, man.
Yeah. I'm a fan of our podcast.
I am a fan of our podcast too.
That's why we have to continue to do that.
It's a good one. Yep.
On a more regular basis.
Yes, we do. Okay, we got it. We nailed
Gotcha.
it. If they want more about evaluations, they have to coach with us, right?
Yes, for sure. And those of you that may be watching the video, because I didn't mention this to Cameron, but I'm thinking of repurposing this video since we're doing it in Zoom, because I found that Zoom will balance out our audios a lot better, because it's not been that easy of a task to be able to do this, because Cameron lives out in the sticks.
Technology has been keeping us apart. I do, with my pigs and my.
All right, let's land this plane. Let's land this plane. You got any more
everybody.
sayings? You got any more sayings like the one you just said? Because that was so good.
I think, show me your dog and I'll show you the state of your business / marriage / family life / the ... right?
Health. Your health.
Yeah, health. Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Oh
It's
my
so
God.
true. It's so true.
All right.
Buckle up, people.
Well, shenanigans are going on here. Hey, if you're not aware of our human dog transformation system, oh my gosh. Our human dog transformation system here at Falco Canine Academy, you better start finding out about it. I'll put a little URL that you can follow to go to some more information about how you can become a trainer within that system and be part of Falco Canine Academy. And when I say we, it doesn't always include Cameron, because Cameron has her own separate business. What is it that you would like people to go to follow you? And I really love your leadership stuff myself, but you be the
I do too. I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of my leadership stuff. You can check everything out right now at home2k9.com. HOME, number 2, letter K, number 9. Home2k9.com has all of the details about our brick and mortar or in-person training services if you're in Southern California, as well as the virtual services that we provide, whether that's to support you in your dog training journey or to work with you as a business owner and to coach with me on a private level or get involved in a leadership program. I currently have my leadership program closed. Enrollment is not available for the Emerging Leaders course. And so if you want to get on the waiting list for that, really, really smart to subscribe to my newsletter at home2k9.com. Just subscribe, you'll get a mailing. I'll keep you posted on when that opens up again. But I definitely would love to stay in touch with you, love to hear from you. You can always email me directly as well, Cameron at home2k9.com. If any of this was confusing or hit you in a place where you need a little bit more support to unpack it so you don't feel lost, I'll always love to hear from you and support you in that process.
Yes. All right. That's awesome. All right. That's it for us. We'll see you at the next one. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Falco Canine Dog Talk, the show that helps you and your dog create a relationship of love and respect. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address at www.falcocanineacademy.com and like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Falco Canine Academy. Follow us on twitter.com/Falco Canine Academy and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Falco143. And remember, if you've got questions for Andy, call the K9 line at 714-798-9961. That's 714-798-9961. This is a production of Falco Enterprises Incorporated. All rights reserved.
Panera now delivers, so you can order good, clean food right to your office, or door, or porch, or backyard, or front yard, or apartment, or dorm, or castle, or shop, or worksite, or wherever Panera delivers. For lunch, dinner, and everywhere in between. Click the banner to order or visit PaneraBread.com. Participating locations only. Panera. Food as it should be.